Joy, what are you telling these
I'm
folks?
just,
What are you
I don't
saying?
type fast. I don't have the magic fingers. I don't have the fingers
I
that go
know
like,
you one
do the
finger
fingers
at a
we do like
time.
this. I don't have it. I don't have it. I
Hmm
got to do it. I'm old. I got to do the
Uh-huh.
whole,
One finger at a time.
yeah, I'm doing good to hold the
Are
phone
you?
and then try to do it with my thumb, get your thumbs good. Yeah. Mm-mm. I got my
Uh,
cup too. See,
I'm putting you out there though.
I got what I do.
Hmm I'm gonna put you out there.
I do.
Cause that's what you heck yeah you do. One
Oh,
finger.
See, I need the
Anyway,
keyboard control. I
nah,
need
you don't need no keyboard
I
control.
need keyboard control. Mm-mm, mm-mm. I want keyboard
So
control. I'm not sure that I want you typing. I want you controlling the
so
keyboard.
I do want to know. So like we're supposed to talk about community, right? And
Right.
so we have had multiple opportunities to be a part of community and develop community. And you were talking earlier today about how you saw something specific during this time regarding the community aspect of our lives. So, like, kind of you were talking about the whole TED Talk thing that I had given, where it was like, we're not a community, but we are a community, but we're not acting like a community. We're
I,
connected, but not community, all that kind of stuff. So, yeah, come on, Joy, fill the
in
people
this
in.
moment, in this season, Stefan, being in the house, I have
Mm.
lost my tact.
Oh yeah, is that what it is? You've lost your tact.
I've,
Well,
I've,
I'm looking forward to that. Go
I've,
ahead. I am
I've,
looking
I've
forward to that.
lost my tact.
Uh huh.
In my opinion, we throw around buzzwords like community
Mm-hmm.
so often without actually living up to them. So, what we were talking about earlier when you were talking in your TED talk about how we're failing to connect in the connectedness, you
Mm-hmm.
know, most people hear us and they swear we talk in riddles, but we really don't. And that's
Yeah.
what I have observed, not only because of social media or because of technology. It really is, we are a group of people living in areas with other people that we no longer speak to. We don't connect with them. We don't know if they have dogs, cats, what their kids' name are, what the birthdays are, if they're having any challenges or if they're having any great moments in their life. And community was once something that was more than living in a neighborhood.
Yeah.
There was a
Mm-hmm.
sense of something. There
Yeah.
was a communal purpose, yea, even. There was a
See,
communal
Joy, why you had to
idea.
go there? We
There
what?
was a
Listen.
communal. I mean, you brought it up, but we don't have that anymore. We don't have a jointedness. I mean,
Right.
if I could use anatomy as an example, and the skeleton being a community, our physical community, everything's connected by something. Your hip bone's connected to your knee bone. You know that song and head, shoulders, knees and
No,
toes.
that's not the same
Head,
song. That's not the
shoulders,
same
knees and
song.
toes, knees and toes. The whole everything's connected.
Uh-huh.
We are not participating as joints, ligaments, muscle, sinew. Hey, Gina. We're not behaving like that in
Right.
quote unquote community anymore. And I feel like that is impacting our ability to rise above occasions such as this.
Right. I would have to agree with you. I think if anything, we've decided to be neighbors more
Right.
than we've decided to be a community. Because I
Yeah.
think community can denote having, as you expressed, a communal purpose.
Mhm.
And outside of the expression of that communal purpose, we find ourselves in a place where we are just neighbors. I know you, I see you walk your dog. I don't know nothing about your dog. I know you live next door to me. I know what kind of car you have. I might talk to you and your wife every once in a while, but I haven't been in your house at all. And you haven't been in my house at all. And because of that, we begin to neglect what having community can mean for not only those who are a part of the community, but that can mean for our lives in general. You know what I'm saying? It can mean for our lives, it can mean for our businesses, it can mean for our families, it can mean for everything. Hey
Don't even
Jasmine.
get me
Jasmine wasn't
started on
saying hey to us. She was saying hey to
hey
Gina,
to
but that's
Gina.
okay.
I know that's fine, but but don't get me started on businesses and community, please.
Okay, then so what we'll talk about is we'll keep talking about the communal aspect of people,
Okay.
and it's one of the reasons that I talked about that in my TED talk because I recognize when sorry I'm gonna have to do it 'cause when we start looking at community, we
You
have
gonna define it?
lost.
Hold on, let's look it up.
Oh, you're gonna look it up. You're
I'm
gonna
I,
define what
I'm
the
I'm
word
gonna
community
define it.
means.
Keep talking. I'm gonna go find it. Yeah.
We have lost the sense of why community is important, number one, right? And it's more than what we think. Yeah, we get to this place where we don't want people to know our business and we don't want people to know this and we don't want people to know that. And community can get messy. And I think it's the messy part of community that made us kind of veer away from it in our lives. Because community can get messy when people know your business and they
I
know
said,
your
what do
family and your
you
sister.
mean? What do you
Girl,
mean, T?
please,
What do you
because
mean,
I
T?
saw your sister over at what's the name in them house the other day,
What
and
you
she ain't had no
mean, T?
business being out that late at night. And I know you was probably one of the ones they was talking about when community was big and broad and everything.
What
I
you
know you
mean,
was.
T?
I know you
What you
was.
mean? What you talking
Let
about?
me get my
Get
cup. Let me get my
getting in
cup.
trouble just cause my kids can tell the story. They out doing something that they didn't have no business doing, and somebody would call me, and by the time I got home from work, they looked at me sideways, like, "How you know?" My mother used to call them birds. I used
Hmm.
to swear they had like cameras all over before surveillance was real surveillance.
Uh-huh. Yeah.
I just knew, but all it was the old lady sitting on the porch telling my business. That's all
That's
it
all it
was.
was. That's all it
Mm-hmm.
was. Jasmine, you was probably one of them too. I see you. Hey, Jasmine, you was probably one of them too.
Jasmine
If
says
they was out there
she was a
watching
good
you,
kid.
you was probably out doing something you ain't had no business doing.
So, definition of community:
All right, give it to me. What's the
a
definition
unified
of
body of
community?
individuals. Unified. Can we just stop there? But no, a unified body of individuals, such as the people with common
Wait, we got to do
interests,
such as?
such as. That's what it says. I'm reading the definitions from Merriam-Webster, your favorite.
Okay.
Such as the people with common interests living in a particular area. So we got unified and we got
Hmm.
common interests. A group of people with a common characteristic or interest living together within a larger society. So, unified body, common interest, common characteristics or interests. Next is a body of persons of common and especially professional interest scattered through a larger society. Do you want me to stop yet?
Yeah, you can stop there. You can
Oh,
stop there. You can stop there.
but
Because here's the thing that I noticed about those definitions, right?
mhm.
So from those definitions, a group of people with common characteristics or interest, but I noticed that in each of those definitions, and this was something that I pointed out in my TED talk, there is one particular word that comes in or phrase that comes in which each one of those definitions, and that is living
Living,
together.
yes.
That
It's
they
either
are
living
living
in or
together.
living together. Yes.
Yeah, they are living together. They are participating in life together. Hey, Jen. They
Hi,
are
darlings.
participating in life together and they are utilizing that moment, that proximity, that common interest, those characteristics to participate in life together. Um, and when you're doing that, it changes things. And I think that's where we miss out on community is we got to a place where we don't want to really participate in life together.
There is one space that I know of that people slightly still behave that way.
Oh yeah, what's that?
You and your Ravens people.
Heck yeah, girl. Oh, we a community for real. We participating in life for real,
Ar-
without a
ar-
doubt. Oh
Around
yeah.
every game, around
Hmm.
every season, it's almost as if you all are so connected as to where if you're not going to make it to the Sunday wherever, 5, 6, 12 of them know that you're not going to make it, but they're
Oh
checking
yeah.
in to make sure you're okay.
Absolutely.
as to
Absolutely.
why you're not making it. How's the
Hmm.
family? How's this? How's that? So I'm
Listen, we were talking just the other day. One of our Ravens fans, members, brothers, had to get tested for COVID-19, and so we was all checking in on him. How you doing? What's going on? How you feeling? Blah blah blah. And his test came back negative, and we all did the cheerleading, and everybody was happy. But it is a part of that is a very good example of us living life together because that's something we do. Listen, that's something we do
my
for
neighbor.
show for show. Yeah.
You're
Hmm.
not living next door to one another. Hey, Darrell.
Hey, Darrell,
So
how you doing?
it actually is to look at it both ways of it being the community that you or the area that you live in, and
Hmm.
community is also the thing that you have wrapped yourself around or become involved in with people that might live from west to east.
Hmm.
But in either situation, it is finding the individuals that are willing to participate to that level. There
Right.
is a certain amount of transparency and vulnerability that individuals have to have in order to truly participate in communal living. To truly, you, hey, let's just be honest about it. If I want
Hmm.
to have a common interest, then how am I going to know that I share a common interest with Stefan if I'm not willing to lay out what my interests are, even in the most heinous aspects of them?
And that's the part right there. Hey, Mr. Maurice, how you doing today? That's the aspect right there is people, oh, look at that. We got fam on the line.
I know what's up.
People are very reluctant to be in a place where they are willing to share the heinous.
Yes.
And that's where the community aspect really comes in, is when you share the heinous, when you share the difficulty, when you share the parts of you that don't just come out on Facebook, for lack of a better word. You know what I'm saying? Like the parts of you that don't come out just in social media, that's where the community becomes communal and where that aspect of living together actually gets expressed.
I don't like people
Uh-huh.
like that though.
Yeah. Uh-huh.
but
Girl, trust me, I don't either. Oh, don't get it twisted. I am king number one. So hold on, because see, this is gonna require a little something. This
oh,
is gonna
now
require
you got to
something.
get your fingers ready to type for
This
real,
gonna
for
require
real.
something. So listen. I don't like
Oh,
people either.
I
In
gotta
fact,
listen.
people get on my nerves. People irritate me because people are people and they gonna do people like stuff. So I was listen. You saw me the other day, Joy. I was just on Facebook complaining about all these movies that people recommended to me, right? And so I went on Facebook and I was like, you know what? I
You don't
said
trust
Bird
nobody
Box
no
was
more.
horrible. I said Bird Box was horrible, and Bad Boys 3 was trash, and Spencer Confidential was mediocre, and I don't trust any of y'all anymore. Y'all suggestions suck. And what did they do? They gave me a whole bunch of other suggestions because they people, and that's
And
what
guess
people
what?
do.
You're gonna go watch some of the
I
things
ain't
that
watching
okay,
none of
yes you
that.
are.
No, I ain't
Yes you
watching
are.
none of them
Because that's
shows.
what community
I
is
might watch
about.
something.
You get to air
I
your
might watch
grievances, but you are
something.
still going to go and participate with the community that you identify with
Yeah.
and the community that you want to stay engaged with, just so that you can
Mm-hmm.
have the conversation.
Yeah.
So the next movie that whatever, what's this tiger mess that they talking about?
Oh my God, the
I don't
Tiger
even know what
King.
it is.
I
What
ain't
is
watched
it?
it either. I have not
Okay.
watched the Tiger King. I want to keep the few little brain cells I got left. I'm not trying to watch the Tiger King.
But if we want to
I
be
know.
able to communicate with people that are watching it,
Yep.
we're
Uh-huh.
gonna have to
See,
lose
look,
those
Jasmine
brain
don't watch Tiger
cells.
King. Look at her.
Yeah,
Uh-huh.
we're gonna have to lose a couple of those brain cells, or at least talk to the people that have, so that we can
Yes.
have an intelligent conversation about Tiger King.
Right. So when we're talking about community and developing communities, I'm gonna ask you, and you can go whichever direction you want to go, right? So
Hmm.
how would you, because I love you. That's why you're doing it like this. So how would you suggest you ain't got the right cup? That's the problem. See?
No
How
tequila
would
to
you
be found in this. Okay.
how would you suggest people go about ensuring that they can develop community? And then specifically for businesses,
Oh, you
What
said you
do
didn't
you
care about me if I went that way, and I told you earlier, don't take me down that road. But okay, keep going. I'm sorry.
listen, I done drove to a whole different exit, so you go down that road now. So specifically with businesses, I have seen that businesses have found it difficult to join community, to create community, to become part of what they deem is the business community. So, how do you develop community, and how do you see community expressed in business? You know what, Brianna? And so I've heard, Brianna, I have heard that Carol Baskins fed her husband to them tigers,
So is this
but
a Tiger
I
King?
haven't watched it. This Tiger King.
Okay, this is Tiger King. I was like, look, okay,
This lady
is that a
fed her
Tiger King?
husband to these tigers, and now she is the reason everything has gone wrong in our society because it's in Tampa too. You didn't know that? It's in Tampa. The place that it happened is in Tampa. Yeah, because of course it
Wow.
would be a Florida story for it to be that wild and
Of
crazy.
course, of course.
But anyway, so yeah, developing community. Like, what do we do? What does that look like? I mean,
Personal community, developing personal community. In order to do that, finding this is so cliche. I'm going to try to say it different after I say the cliche. Is
mm-hmm.
finding like-minded people. Because
Okay,
also in the definition, there's a word that runs through there all the time, which is called common. And
yes,
we've gotten to the place where we understand common sense isn't common anymore because we don't have commonality.
mm-hmm.
So the things that we would consider, that someone might consider common sense, well, if the person that you're looking at saying, well, that should just be common sense to you, doesn't share a common thread with you, then
Mm-hmm.
why assume that that would be a common shared co-sense with them?
Right,
So in developing community, you have to develop common bonds, develop common things.
mm-hmm.
I like movies like I Am Legend, or I
Right,
like movies like Gemini Man, or I like movies that make me think deeply. So if I'm going to build a community, I want to find someone that also likes that kind of thing. So we
right.
can share a common thread. But it is not excluding, please hear me when I say this, it is not excluding people that do not share a common thread with you because that's how communities grow.
Exactly.
So finding also the persons that like comedy
These are your
because
friends,
Terrell
just so you
Jackson,
know. These
stop
are
it.
your friends.
Y'all know, right? Why did I bring up Tiger King? I have no idea. But finding the person, I don't like comedy. I lose my card every time I say Richard Pryor, I'm not down with, or Bernie Mac, or all of the
Listen,
comedians,
you ain't gonna disrespect Bernie Mac. Go
Eddie
ahead, go
Murphy,
ahead.
and all of the. I don't have what I consider to be a sense of humor. So I try to also include people that have humorous bones or natures about them to help me expand and grow in that space. Businesses,
Well, let's talk about that aspect first because there is an aspect. I think it's very important that we emphasize that community is about commonality, but it doesn't exclude those that aren't exactly like you, because
right,
we don't want to get into. So, if you've heard Joy and I talk about anything at all over the past couple of months and the past year, you've probably heard us mention the book Pendulum. And if you've heard us mention the book Pendulum, then you heard us talk about the we cycle and the me cycle. And so you got your copy? There it is. And so you've heard us talk about the me cycle and the we cycle. And so in the aspect of community, we don't want to get so deep into the we cycle. So in this book, there's the concept of people going through a cycle of life where they are all about we, and it's we, everything is about we, but it's a we're okay, but if you're not part of us, you're not okay. So
right,
while it gives the image of inclusion, it is actually very exclusive. It is very rigid, and it puts people out very easily because it gives the image of inclusion, but it's not very inclusive. um And so, in that aspect, we have to look at making sure that in our community and our commonalities, we don't fall into the depths of the bad side of the we cycle, where we are okay, but if you're not one of us, then you're not okay. And then you fall into the mean girls thing, where it's like you can't sit with us because you're not one of us. And you don't ever want to be, you can't sit with us because you're not one of us.
I had to blink on that because there's certain sororities that we still live like that. But
Got you.
I digress.
Got you.
I digress. That is true. But you also don't want to be so far. It does kind of remind you of religion.
Yeah, it does.
True. It does remind you of religion, where if I'm Catholic is right and everything else is wrong.
It's one of the problems that both Joy and I have with religion in of itself and sects of religion and people who call themselves religious or Christian or whatever, is because they try to exclude based on their perceived prowess. So religion gives you this false sense of
superiority.
Superiority, this false sense of superiority. And because you have this false sense of superiority, you begin to exclude others, and then that doesn't allow people into your community. However, if you really look at what Christ taught in Christianity, he taught bringing everybody in, but holding them accountable when you bring them in. And that's one of the things that we miss on. I think specifically when it comes to business communities, making that transition, that one of the things that we miss on a lot is the holding them accountable part. Because in business communities, we let everybody in, and we don't exclude anybody, but we don't hold people accountable for upholding the standard of business that we want to see upheld in our community. And that's where you get the people that, I won't do business with black people no more. And I won't do business with these people no more. And I won't never go to this side of town for this thing and all that kind of stuff. And we're the ones that aren't upholding the standard for that aspect of community.
Hey, Jamie. I'm going to tell Jamie hi. That's one of my other sons. Hey, Jamie.
Hey, Jamie.
When you were talking, so you're speaking from the dynamic of business community as far as business to B2B, businesses and other business and other businesses. And that is very true, where a community of businesses have to set a standard and a bar, and allegedly that is what organizations like chambers of commerce are supposed to assist in establishing a standard and a bar. But part of the problem for business to business in doing that is, number one, when businesses don't pay attention to the actual communities that they are in. So my brother and I wrote a book, and it was a book catered towards a Christian or a church dynamic. But one of the principles in there was, don't assume that what's important to your congregation is important to your community.
Ooh,
so for businesses,
I like that a lot.
For businesses in our business community, even though we should be setting standards and having those type of things in place to hold one another, if I'm IBM, then I'm holding Microsoft accountable to a standard, or vice versa. Inside of our business community, we should not assume that what is important to us, to our organizations, is also important to the communities that we serve in or that we are servicing. It's actually the reverse. The communities that we are in should be telling us
and
what the standard should be.
Right. Influencing us in what that standard should be. And you're absolutely right, Brian Maurice. Like-mindedness does give the perception of unity, and that's part of the problem. It's a perception of unity because we all think the same way. It's a group think, but not necessarily a unity. Because when you have unity, you usually move forward in some type of purpose. And in business, it's sometimes missing because our insulation is the pursuit of success. And so the only unity we have is that we're all going after success. And that's the thing that we're all going after. And we never take the time to figure out what our common interests are. We might figure out what our common services are. We might figure out what our common product offerings are. but we don't take the time to find out what our common interests are, not only as people, but as businesses. Because so anybody who's talked to us, anybody who's had a session with us has heard us talk about business personalities. Every
Mhm.
business has a personality. And if you're operating, oh, here we go, Jesus. All right. So if you're operating
I
in
didn't
the
start thinking
who,
good.
yeah, I know. If you're operating in the who of your business, so that's discovering who your business is at its core. And that usually emanates from your business's core values. So if you're operating from the who of your business and you're expressing your business personality on a regular basis, and you have indoctrinated your employees and your staff to the place where they express the business personality, then at most times you will be able to find other businesses that share common interests with you, other businesses that share common values, common goals, common likes, common this, common that. And that in and of itself can help to develop your community. Um, but if the only thing y'all got in common is the fact that everybody want to make money, like that's not going to get it. That's not going to
Core
get it at all.
core value, for example, of integrity.
Mm-hmm.
One of Eonian Avia's core values is integrity. We are always going to function with our clients, with our communities, and with other individuals from a posture and a positioning of integrity. So we will do business with businesses that function with that same core value of integrity. We also do business and choose our clients from a dynamic or aspect of, are they interested, or is one of their core values a core value of integrity? So that
Mm-hmm.
helps begin building the
Right.
community that has integrity in it.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
Um, you said something earlier about perception versus agreement. So when like-mindedness is
Mm-hmm.
giving, Brian Murray said, it gives off the perception of
Of
commonality,
unity.
yeah,
Mm-hmm.
of unity. So how do we get away from, well, hold on, I'm gonna go do it this way again. You know,
Oh, here we go. That's
yeah,
right.
I'm
Go find it.
sorry. I
That's
gotta
okay.
go. I gotta go
Go
do
find
it.
it. And I'll go ahead and talk more about the core values. So when you have core values of integrity, then you will match with people that have commonality of integrity. When one of your core values is care, so Ione and Avia, one of our core values is care. And we stated it this way. I'll read it. We not only serve people, we serve dreams, ambitions, hopes, and desires. We recognize that these are delicate and must be treated with the utmost care. And we will always truly care about our customers and our product, right? And so recognizing that the things that we service, we don't only service people, but people bring to us the dream that they've been holding on all their life. They
Right.
bring to us that thing that they've been thinking of, working on, toiling after. They bring to us the best of themselves. And we recognize we have to treat that with the utmost care. We can't just lolly-dolly everybody or lollygag or whatever, just throw it to the side. We have to treat that with the utmost care. When your company uses care as a core value, not just, oh, we care about our customers, but it's truly something that you have taken the time to study within yourself and figure out, do you really care? Right? Because you remember, Joy, I had that moment where I was like, I don't care, but I care. Like,
Right.
I had to go through and figure out, what does that mean? You don't care, but you
Yeah.
care, which it really means I care, but I'm sick of people. But anyway, um, that helps us to find the commonality. But you were getting ready to look up a word while I grabbed my
Perception.
cup. Perception. Okay.
Perception. If like-mindedness is giving off a perception of unity, is perception true?
Girl, don't get me started on the
I
6 and the
know,
9.
I know, I know, I know. I'm not sure that you get to comment. But so for those that have joined us, we're gonna
Oh,
we're gonna help Stefan stay in his box corner over there. Perception is a mental image or a
mm-hmm,
result of perceiving, observation. So I always use the example when talking about perception. I use a couple, but this time I'm going to use the example of being colorblind.
okay.
So I am the person observing something, but I'm colorblind. Like
Hmm.
I see grays and I see blues and I see blacks, but I don't have, this is not factual, y'all. I'm just using this as an example.
Right.
That I can't see oranges and reds and blah, blah, blah. So if I see someone walking down the street that has on a orange shirt, my perception is that they have on gray
Right.
because of the way my eyes are set up. Is that perception factual? So when we're talking about like-mindedness giving off a perception of unity, all that is saying is that it is giving us a mental image. And that mental image, oftentimes, unfortunately, is false.
Hmm.
Because just because I share a common thread with you does not necessarily always mean that I am united with you.
Right.
And when I
Absolutely
am
right.
united with you, that means I am going to stand with you come hell or high water. Some like-minded people like that share the same mind as me, I'm not going in front of a firing squad to hell or nowhere else for. I just
Ain't that
know,
the
you know
truth?
what? They think like me
They
sometimes.
think like me.
Yeah.
Uh-huh.
So in community, we have to get beyond just the perception,
Right.
especially when we're talking in the, well, I'm not just going to say especially, it's period. But when we are talking in the realms of business, a business has to do more than be perceived as being good or be perceived as being caring or
Hmm.
be perceived, there's a difference between image and branding.
Right.
If your image says that you are a caring business, but then the moment somebody shows up with a lawsuit that shows that you are not a caring business, then your image is distraught and your brand is all out of whack because you haven't
Hmm.
really been true to the perception that you've been
Yep.
putting out.
That's right.
So I think in building community for and developing community for businesses, the businesses first have to go address the communities that they are in and gain agreement from the communities that they are in with what they are trying to do.
Right.
Let your community tell you what it needs, what it needs.
Hmm.
I might not need free Wi-Fi as my community, but instead I might need 50 computers. Oh, wait a minute. There was a question before this one. Before Brianna, there was one. Terrell. Yes, Terrell.
Yeah, he
You
was
have to
saying, are
have a
you
reason
trying
to
to,
make money.
are you putting him when he was talking about when we were talking about going into business and how making money can't be the only thing that brings us together as a community.
Okay.
Um, but the reasons that we make money can be part of that purpose. Um, yeah, that will lead you to bad decisions. You're absolutely right about that, Terrell. That's for real. Um,
What was Brianna's question?
are people truly like-minded or are they just going with the flow?
Okay, well,
We both decided not to answer that
yeah,
question.
but I'm going to tackle that. That is where I started with the being able to be transparent
Hmm.
and being able to be honest. You won't really know if they're just going with the flow if they are not capable, or willing to be honest with you.
Right. Hmm.
To say yay or nay to what you're thinking. Like Stefan and I, Lord Jesus, if people ever caught all glimpse of all of our conversations, they'd
Ooh,
be like,
no,
are they real
no,
business
no,
partners?
no.
Are they real business partners? Do they even like each other sometimes? Because
Uh-huh.
we are able to tell one another honestly, I don't agree with you there.
Hmm.
We go back and forth on the what is true, or is it your truth,
Hmm.
or is it this, that, or the third? Don't you start over there, Stefan. Pete, look, Pete
Listen.
Gillum, don't you start. We're not gonna have this conversation today. But that's one of the things that we go back and forth on, where we are able to be stop it. See, we are able to
That's the
be
one right there.
true and transparent with one another to be able to say we agree to disagree. No, we're not like-minded here. Because
Hmm.
put that back up. Go ahead.
That
Since you
6
put
and
it
that
there,
9.
since you put it up
Listen,
there,
that 6 and that 9,
since you put
we
it
have
up
had
there,
this side. So the 6 and the 9 thing is something Joy and I go back and forth about.
all
Because
time.
this is so there's a meme that went around social media that had a picture similar to this. And at the bottom of the meme, it says one person saw a 6 and one person saw a 9. And it said, just because you're right doesn't mean I'm wrong. First of all, I have a problem with that statement all by itself, because if I'm
Because you
right,
ain't never wrong.
then it
According to
definitely means
yourself.
you're wrong. We both, listen, unless we say the same thing, we both can't be right. But aside from that, so, well, you know what? I'm going to take that back. We don't necessarily disagree on that. We disagree on what comes after it, because one person saw a 6, one person saw a 9. And there's a meme that says, just because you're right doesn't mean I'm wrong. It's all about perception. And then when I saw that, I got mad. There's another meme that goes on and says, no, one person is wrong. What do we do to find out what the truth is? Is there a building that we can orient up against? Can we figure out, are there any other numbers that we can line up to see? Is this a 6? Is this a 9? Can we go find out who drew the number and find out, did they draw a 6 and draw a 9? But Joy says, I'm not doing all of that.
I
If
ain't
I
doing all
saw a
that.
9.
I see 6. That's a 6.
And so, but this
Until I move
doesn't.
around to the other side. Then it'll be a 9.
It's a, I don't know which one it is, so I can't say it's 9. But
exactly. There's the point. That's the point.
Right,
We
but
don't know. And until people are able to say, I don't know.
That's the answer. You're absolutely right. Because that's where the mistake comes.
Right.
The mistake comes when people are not willing to say, I don't know if it's a 6 or a 9. I see a 6, you see a 9. We don't know which one it is. Neither one of us is right. Not both of us are right. Neither one of us is right at this time, because we don't know what the answer is. And I think that is the key when we're talking about commonality and understanding and coming to a place where people have an agreement. So the agreement doesn't have to be it's a 6 or a 9.
Right.
The agreement can be we don't know which one it is. And then the unity can come in. We're going to go determine and figure out and find out and discover which one it is. Is it a 6 or it is a 9?
See, did we just accomplish it?
I think we might have just figured it out after all this time. I think after all this time of debating it, we might have just figured it out.
We just went there, and I'm so proud of us.
Mm-hmm. Your perception is your reality based on your vantage point. In business, your vantage point is based on the information that you are willing to seek and implement into your vision. That is absolutely correct. And I like, so there's a key word here though. Your perception is your reality. It doesn't mean it is reality. It means it is your reality based on your own vantage point. So, I always seek after truth. And it gets me in trouble with people, and people tend to not like me because of it. Shut up, you like me. Because I always tend to seek after truth, and I want to discover, well, what is the truth? And then, so the part that she doesn't like isn't that I want to figure out what the truth is that once I figure out what the truth is, I want to say, well, what's truer than that particular truth that we just figured out? But there is an aspect of you have a certain amount of information, you have a certain amount of knowledge that you have taken in, and that gives you a perception and a vantage point and paints a reality for you. And then when you discover something that is truer than the thing that you knew to begin with, so using your example, Joy, that you used of the person that was colorblind, I'm wearing a green shirt, you're colorblind, you see it as gray, but once you discover the truth that it's green, you'll begin to say, no, that's his green shirt, even though you don't see it as green. Now we can talk a whole different session about being able to state a truth that you don't see, but we're not here. We're not going there right now.
Look, wait a minute. I'm trying to find the book. I'm trying to make sure there's no Bible near me. I'm
trying to state a truth that you don't see. But anyway, so once you learn the truth that it's a green shirt, you'll be able to declare and recognize it as a green shirt and begin to call it a green shirt. But then when you recognize a truer truth, that it is a forest green shirt, or it is a evergreen shirt, or whatever that is, and as that knowledge and that wisdom and that information grows, your vantage point changes, and your openness to the truth happens. And then you get to be woke, because that's what joy is. Joy woke. Oh,
I'm reading. Hold on.
that we won't understand anything. See, Brianna done brought with the wickedness. Why you trying to sledgehammer our live, Brianna? You done came in here. Listen, hold on. Where Brianna at? I'm about to mess a
You gonna
whole day
inbox
up.
her?
I'm about to
We are
mess a
both
whole day
primary colors, red and yellow. You know what?
up.
She came out with the primary colors.
She
Look,
sure did.
yellow and blue make green.
They sure do. Exactly. Exactly. Uh-huh. And the colors that make purple and all of that.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
See, Brianna Brown.
Because here's some things that only a couple people will
But
get when I say it.
make
You
sure you
need
keep it in the realms of community
you
and
need
business and people.
you need blue to make purple. Why it's so quiet? Why it got so quiet all of a sudden?
I'm blinking.
Can't nobody see your blink.
Whatever. That didn't have nothing to do with community
They have nothing to do with community. You're
or
absolutely
business.
right. You're absolutely right. They
I,
have nothing to do with community.
I'm one of those people that go, come back. In business, if you want to establish a community, establish a connection before you establish your organization. So
Yes.
establish a connection, since we're talking about the how to develop, establish a connection with the community members that you are in and other businesses inside of that community before you actually establish your organization as this is who I am. Because that is how you help craft your conversation. It is how you help craft the services and the products that you provide, because it doesn't make sense to come into a community, whether it be a B2B community or business to consumer community, and none of your products are needed.
Mm-hmm.
But
You're
you won't
absolutely
know
right.
that if you haven't connected with the people,
Yeah.
if you haven't connected with the entities.
And that was one of the things that I said in the live that I gave about businesses moving beyond connection to community, but recognizing that the connection part is necessary. The connection part is the first step
Yes.
to building community. Well, I'm never going to become a part of your community until you and I have connected, or until our businesses have connected, or until we've established those commonalities and those common interests. I can't get to community from there. So yeah, it's definitely something that has to happen without a doubt. You have to have that connection. It is so necessary.
So, how are we going to have a connecting moment with our community outside of our, we did B and we have, look at you. Did you click her in and tell her to join?
I sure did.
Hello, Miss
everybody.
Brianna.
Well, hello.
How are
You know, I
you?
just got off work. I'm an essential worker.
Listen, you feeling real good about essential too.
I don't know about that because, I run the risk of giving something to, my son or my family when I pick him up. So, it's a good and bad thing. I still get a check. So, I'm able to provide. So that's
So I wanted to ask you, how have you, since you mentioned being an essential worker, as you've been out as an essential worker, how have you recognized a change in community and our communities being out as an essential worker?
I really, in my opinion, I have noticed that there really is no community because I'm forced. I don't want to say forced because everybody has a choice whether they want to believe that they do or not. And if they want to complain, everybody has a choice in everything that you do. So I choose to go to work and, put my family at risk every day. But for the people that do not have to, and they're being told to sit at home, whether they believe that it's important enough or if it's as serious as people say it is, whether they believe that or not, they don't take heed for anybody else. They don't have any consideration for somebody else's family or all the people that are getting sick and dying. And it's always, oh, well, hunger kills more people than that, or, suicide kills more people than this. And not to diminish those facts and those numbers, but if you could stop somebody from committing suicide, would you do it? If you could stop somebody from catching anything, like it's really, they don't put themselves in anybody else's shoes and or care enough to put anybody in anybody else's shoes. And if we were really a community, we would want to look out for one another and their families, even if they have nothing to do with us. because that's what a community does. But people are still having barbecues and family gatherings, and oh, it's just 10 people or less, and then the next day the entire family's in the hospital in the ICU
Mm-hmm.
because they wouldn't expose each other to something else, even that was immunocompromised. And I may be a healthy person and maybe asymptomatic, but somebody's grandmother may not, and I'm hugging you, you're going to take it to them, you're not going to wash your clothes, you're just going to
Mm-hmm.
keep the system going. And the community wouldn't do that, in my
Right.
opinion. People is like, oh, it's not affecting me directly, so I don't really care about it.
One
Thank
thing
you so much, Brianna.
one thing that
Thank you.
I like about what she said was, we as people these days are lacking, seemingly we are lacking empathy.
Mm-hmm.
We are
Yeah.
lacking the ability to care beyond ourselves.
Yeah.
We are
I love that she introduced the aspect of consideration into
right.
community, you know. And that's a real piece. That's a real piece of all community, business community, the
Mhm.
artistry community, the all of the communities that we can put a label on, right? The education community, the hospitality community, wherever your community lies, if you are a true community and not just neighbors, people who live next to each other, but if you're people who are sharing common interests and living together with those common interests, you're going to find that there's going to be a level of consideration for the people that you are in community with, that you are going to share simply because you've been sharing life with them. So I know the grandparents, and I know the this, and I know the that. You
Mhm.
and I were just talking before we got on this live, and I was like, "Hey, Joy, da 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 da, come take a ride with me." And you was like, "Nah, I'm not doing that." And I asked you once more because I was selfish, and you was
Mhm.
like, "Nah." But I knew why you were saying
Mhm.
no, and I wasn't going to force the issue because there's an area of consideration, there's an area of empathy, there's an area of understanding that comes with being in community with each other.
And we came up with a viable option for me to still ride with you, just not
Mm-hmm.
in person.
Yeah, absolutely.
Bring the phone, put on FaceTime, put me in the
Mm-hmm.
passenger seat.
That's right.
Go to the
So you can
passenger
see
seat.
all
You
of
can
the
see
stuff.
everything that you seeing
Uh-huh.
and riding
That's
around
right.
everything that you riding around, and
Yeah,
we still have our conversation in the car.
that's right.
But me with my low immune system self is staying
Mm-hmm.
right here because I don't want to have to punch nobody in the throat by not staying 6 feet away from me.
That's right. Mm-hmm.
But
Yeah.
yeah, the consideration, business right now is so crucial because I'm watching businesses try to figure out, especially small businesses, try to figure out how to stay afloat.
Yes. Yes, they are.
So I'm in this community and I'm saying, but I still need to charge you $75, or I still need to charge you $1,200 because that's how I'm going to eat. But am I thinking about the fact that not only do I have to eat, but the person that I'm asking the $1,200 from,
Mm-hmm.
they got to
They
eat
got to eat
too.
too. That's right. That's right.
And right
Mm-hmm.
now, they're probably in the same situation that I'm in
Right.
of reduced income,
But you know
reduced
what?
something. So how do I still serve them and they be able to serve me, but they can still eat? I need to take those kind of things into consideration.
But you know what? That's a good point that you bring up, because it is when and what happens is when it comes down to survival is when we
Mm,
begin to lose community. You know
mhm,
what I mean? When it comes down to survival, we begin to lose that communal aspect, and it becomes about me taking care of me and surviving, because the Maslow's hierarchy of needs comes in, and I have this fear of the bottom level of the hierarchy of needs, of the food and the substance and the shelter and the clothing and the things like that. And so I'm not worried about taking care of others. I'm worried about myself. And we see that in business, especially when things like this come up, because go ahead, Joy. You can
no, no,
chime
no,
in,
no.
Joy. It's like a good
That's how
student.
that's how we
You got a good
remember.
student.
No, no,
But
that's
yeah,
how we remember.
we begin to lose that aspect of community, and we get into the going from the we cycle to the me cycle. And it becomes all about me and what I need to do for me. And I'm not recognizing that a lot of times when it comes to community, if I'm taking care of you, you're in a better position to take care of me. Because it's like a marriage almost. If you're my priority and I'm your priority, then when we take care of each other, everybody gets taken care of, right? And it's something that you and I have tried to espouse across with Eoni and Avia on numerous occasions, is that there's an opportunity out here for everybody to eat. Trust me, there is plenty of money. We all just watched the government inject $2 trillion just because something went down. So there is plenty of money to go around for this entire system. And we got to understand that there's enough for everybody to eat. There's enough for everybody to eat. Don't forget what you said while Terrell is chiming in, because he's been giving some good stuff. Deployed to places that you can't find on the map. Injected. Yes, I know they have injected you with some crazy stuff. Yes. Uh-huh. You're absolutely right. There is a young man who needs this upcoming football season to impress college scouts. He may be the first one in his family to go to college. Listen, as a former general manager and coach for semi-pro football, Terrell, I get it, bruh. Because some of these guys, it's all they got for us to make sure that that team is able to play this coming season. Go ahead, Joy. I ain't gonna stop you anymore. I've been talking a lot. I'm running my mouth. It's this cut.
Here we go back to community. If we were living in community, this would not be all he's got.
Exactly.
This would not be all he's got. And now we're kind of drifting into, this is why I didn't want to have this conversation tonight, because, I'm working through this dissertation piece and I'm trying to find, since you brought up the word survival, what I am researching is in community, when once upon a time, survival was it was the heightened of, I need to live. But even in that time, there was more community aspect than there is now. So
we're trying to survive.
Right. I can't say that it's the aspect of survival that is detrimental to community.
You're right. You're absolutely right.
But one of the things that I was trying to write about was how desegregation impacted the businesses in African American communities. But I began to realize that I could not say that it was the fault of desegregation. It's more behind when we as people start looking at community. What are we actually teaching? What do we actually believe about community? And then how are we follow on personifying or acting out community? So we can have the whole list of 25 things that a person can do or a business can do to develop a community. Develop a community.
Watch your mouth, dog.
At the end of the day, what it boils down to is, how am I, Joy? How is Stefan, and how is Eoni and Avia actually acting out those things? Because people cannot gravitate towards something that they do not see.
And that is an aspect that we all have to be very, very aware of when we're talking about community in our life and when we're talking about community in business. Because at the end of the day, specifically when you're talking community in business, we think of a community as, if we get all of these people together, then what could we do? What could we become? What benefit can I get out of all of these people coming together? But the true aspect of community is kind of what you just stated a moment ago, which is what we try hard to do in Eoni and Avia, which is, if I am becoming a part of this community, or if I am starting a community, what can I provide to this community? What can I give to this community? Because if you think about communal living back in the Middle Ages, Dark Ages, whatever ages you want to look at, right? If we had a fortress, right, and we had wooden, spiky, whatever's all around the fortress, and you came and knocked on the big gate door, and the guys with the bow and arrows opened up the door and allowed you to possibly come in, one of the first things that would be considered is, if you are joining this community, what can you provide to the community? Do you know how to sew? Do you know how to farm? Do you know how to raise cattle? Do you know how to, are you a carpenter? What can you provide to this community that brings about this aspect of communal living? And that part is serious, man. It matters. It really does matter. And when you walk into a community looking at what you can get out of it, when you walk into, and I'm talking business community specifically, when you walk into a business community, I'll use Black Business Owners of Florida. I'll use Black Business Orlando. I'll use Black Business Richmond. I'll use Orlando Tech. I'll use all of these different business communities that I know of. The PhD community that we're in, and the engineers community that we're in. All of these different communities that we know of, when you walk into that community, the first thing you're thinking is, what can I get out of this? And so you start, and we'll just talk about Facebook groups. You walk into a Facebook group and you start posting your ads, and you start posting your promos, and you start posting your little graphics and all that kind of stuff to figure out what you can get out of it. You miss the benefit of being in the community. Because the benefit of being in the community is walking into the Facebook group and determining what kind of value can I provide and add to this community.
Right.
So that I am seen not only as a value added member of the community, but as a resource on behalf of the community, which then allows people to want to come and be a part and do work with my business and all that kind of stuff.
So we drop in a couple of gems that's going to come out later in a book or in one of our sessions, but in the community aspect principle. Organizations should always support the life and health of the organism. Organizations will always change, but healthy organisms grow.
Exactly. Organizations always change. Always. Right. I was talking to somebody who was a potential client of ours just the other day, and they wanted to go get their logo trademarked. And I was like, don't put too much emphasis on your logo. Pepsi changes their logo every 3 years. I was like, the colors are the thing that they trademark. Yeah. Right. The organization is going to change. The people that are there is going to change. The person in charge is going to change. 9 times out of 10, the business is going to change.
It should.
But the organism, it should. If it's going to grow, it should change. But the organism that is produced from the business, the community that is birthed and grown from the business, does not change. They go with the business. And as the business changes, they recognize and support whatever change the business makes. And so when you've developed a true community around your business, you have put yourself in a position. It's like we tell people all the time. When you work your business so that people fall in love with your business's personality, you can change what you sell every day. You can sell a different service, a different product every year. And those same people will keep buying it because they bought into the business. They bought into the organization and the organism that has been created around that. And it doesn't hinder your business per se.
Another principle, it's not enough to catch the fish and clean the fish. The core value of your organization must be to serve the fish.
Oh, Joy, how much I got left in this cup?
I don't know, but
I'm not drinking Pepsi. So.
You wanted to bring up and talk about, community, business, family, all of that good stuff. It's not a one-stop conversation, though.
It's not.
That's the thing that important. I want to encourage people to drop us inboxes, drop us notes, drop us comments, drop us things that. Like we're saying, if we want to build a community, we need to know from you all, from the people that would be a part of the community, not just information that you would find helpful, but we need your input. We need your feedback. What do you think about community? How are we going to shape an organization that actually impacts growth, development, and change? And are you willing to be a part of a community, understanding that it's not going to happen overnight?
That's the most important part. Are you willing to be a part of a community, understanding that it's not going to happen overnight? Because one thing a lot of people don't understand about our company is that we're trying to do some stuff a lot of people don't try to do in business. You know what I mean? Like, we're trying to legitimately reshape the foundation of what business looks like and how it's carried out in American society. One of our core values, so you talked about the integrity, we mentioned the care. Another one of our core values is value, that we will be a valued resource for all of the people that we encounter, every single one. Every single person that we encounter, we will in some way, shape, or form be a valued resource for them. We will give each client exceptional service and value while never losing sight of our own value as an organization. And I think that's one part that people can forget about when they're in business, right? They're so focused on giving value to the others that are in their community, that they begin to lose the value of themselves because they feel like they're at the mercy of the people they're giving value to,
Oh,
you know. And
where'd you
that's something.
find me? Okay. In what mindset did you find me?
Yeah.
Okay. Yes.
And that's something that we have to be careful of as businesses, that we are not perpetuating a cycle of disdaining the people that we are providing value for,
Mhm.
because we have made ourselves a slave to the value that we provide for the people.
Right.
Instead of giving it in a manner that is cheerful and a manner that is abundant and a manner of desire, we're giving it because what happens is, when you are a slave to the people you are providing value to, you're normally that way because you're only doing it to get something back. And so when you're not getting back whatever you're looking to get back, you start to disdain the people you're giving to, because you're not just giving it just to give and to
Right.
be a valued resource. And we talk about business, right? Yeah, we talk about business.
Are
Telling
we?
people something, Joy.
Are
Yeah.
we just talking about business?
No.
Because that can get down to so many personal levels.
It
Now
sure
you
can.
wrapping on over into B,
Yeah.
and I'm not sure we're going to B today, because we're gonna put your cup down. That's what we're gonna do.
We're gonna put my cup down. I done said enough. Is that what you're trying to tell me? I have
All
said
right.
enough.
We've been on this for an hour. We'll say, you know what?
Uh-huh.
You gotta give them in bits and pieces, and don't, bore the people or force the people to hold their attention span for longer than.
Well,
So say something comical, because you've been deep.
I'm gonna give them that piece that we gave them in the beginning, in
Look,
case they missed
stop!
it. In case they missed it, I want the people to know: 1 thumb for every text message, and that thing be moving too.
Don't be asking me to do this. I'm not. I don't understand that.
That's
No.
you all day.
But no, it's this COVID-19 has brought about opportunities for realization, for observation, for truth and honesty.
Mhm.
Are you really an organization about community? Are you
Yeah.
really a person about community? Are you really a person that is capable of sustaining? And sustaining, I don't mean just surviving. I mean
Yeah.
sustaining through hardships
Mm.
and challenges and things that would bring about depression, or things that would bring about despair, and things that would bring about uncertainty and confusion. How are you doing? We did not ask that question.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
I
And
wish
that's
businesses were still this way. There's nothing like loyal employees. Don't get me started, Breonna Brown.
she already got you started.
Don't get me
She already
started,
got you
Breonna Brown.
started.
Because there once was a time. I know I said I was trying to wrap up, Breonna. Why
You
you gonna
sure
type that in
was.
there? Why you gonna type that in there? There once was a time where a time like this, other than the Great Depression, but there once was a time when businesses knew how to not operate so close to the red, that if
Yes.
they had to shut down for 6 months, their employees were still receiving some kind of benefit,
Sure was. Mm-hmm.
because they understood that their company was only as great as the people that were in it. So when we went off to war, World War I and World War II, and everybody had to go into the factories, the women started going to work because the men were all fighting the war, and all of these different things that took place, there was a time in our nation that companies actually took care of their employees. And now we have gotten so far away from that. It is asking a high school graduate to do things that you expect a master's degree holder to do, that, well, because we can get somebody else to do this, we're going to reduce you here, we're going to cut corners there, or we don't need as many people, or we're outsourced. Because and I understand it, trust me, I get it. We're a capitalist nation, and we can't forget that. when we are always so angry about stuff, we're a capitalist nation.
Yeah.
And we're a consumer nation.
Yes, a consumerist
So
economy. Absolutely. If
when
y'all
it,
ain't buying nothing, this country folds. Period.
when it boils down to, like we always talk about, we want our representatives to remember that they're representatives and not leaders. If we want companies to change or to reevaluate, we have to understand who we are as consumers. Because the company that loses its consumer base and people stop buying from it, all of a sudden you start seeing something about them change.
Mm-hmm.
When
And
their
that's
revenue gets impacted.
Mm-hmm.
So
And that's part of the change and the shift that we made in business, and in entrepreneurship and just the business landscape in America, when we went from being employee focused to consumer obsessed. So there's a difference between being consumer focused and being consumer obsessed. And we became so consumer obsessed. We'll give you anything and everything, the whole farm, all the land, all the chickens, all the cows, all the everything. And you can come pluck the chickens yourself if you want to, or we'll pluck them and skin them and cook them and send them to you in the mail, freeze dried. You don't have to lift a finger. We became so consumer obsessed that we started neglecting the employee. We started neglecting the persons that had to clean and pluck the chicken and send it in a box so that you could not lift a finger. And we operated so close to the red economically for our businesses, financially for our companies. We operated so close to the red that we forgot that without these employees, these customers can't get what they're looking for.
they're not going to get it.
Mm-hmm.
So I can, she took me off on a tangent. I'm gonna have to go back to start writing, but here's the end. So hard stop. Establish an effective organization that helps people negotiate life's challenges and realize their full potential requires an unemotional structure inspired by the complex simplicity of the human experience.
I think we can stop there.
Okay.
I think we can stop there. Listen, guys, you're on Facebook, so inbox us on Facebook and holla at us. And specifically, if you are facing any challenges in your business or obstacles, or if you really want to talk more about, yeah, we talking
Chicken,
about your
really?
chicken.
That's what he did. That's what he did, Terrell. That's what he did. Chicken.
If you're facing any challenges or
Wait a
have any
minute. Who
questions,
made chicken and dressing?
you have to ask Terrell who made the chicken and dressing.
Who made chicken and dressing? Who made the chicken and dressing, Terrell?
Why? You want some?
Look.
You trying to get a plate. You trying to get a plate.
Who made chicken and dressing? And was it greens and sweet potatoes and candy?
Listen,
like
sit
that
down somewhere, Joy Michelle.
Okay, I'm sorry. Did you just use my whole name?
I sure did. I'll put you down.
I'm sorry, go ahead.
He said, okay. So, but yeah, if you guys listen, now you know it's good. You want some.
She gonna be my next friend because chicken and dressing.
Yep.
Yeah.
But yeah, if you're facing any particular obstacles in your business, challenges in your business, or questions that you might have about allowing your business to build a community, building a community in your life, in your artistry, or how to best utilize your business to join the community, inbox us and we can help you out. We'll talk.
Let us know that you're okay or not, because we care about you.
Yeah, definitely let us know that you're okay.
There are individuals on here that are representing businesses. So not only from your representation of your business, but for everyone, the Briannas, the Terrells, the Darrells, the Ginas, I can't see the list because you have control over there. So for everyone, if I missed you, for everyone, the Jasmines, if you're here and you as a person are also just wanting to talk through stuff, then hey, hit us up.
Yeah. Inbox Eonian Avia, facebook.com/Eonian Avia. If you can spell it, you win.
It's in the corner.
It is, but they got to remember it. I mean, they got to go back and look at it or something. If you can spell it, you win.
In the corner. Anyway,
yeah.
What you
we'll
have in your
catch you
cup
guys
today?
next time. What did I have in my cup? So today I had rain and cranberry apple, which is different for me.
Ooh.
Yeah, because I didn't run out to the store and get nothing else because, the Rona. So today it was rain and
Hashtag.
cranberry apple. But I did have
Barbecue chip.
Sure did.
So if y'all love us, it's rain, barbecue chips, or tequila.
That's right. That's the love. So, see y'all next time.